It's Tournament Talk on the Tournament Edge, Breeders' Cup Edition, Part 2. Hello and welcome. I'm Bobby Shoemaker. That's my co-host, Barry Spears. Barry and I are coming to you to discuss 4 specific races for a fantastic Saturday card. And we're going to start off, Barry, with race 7 on Saturday at Keeneland. It's the Grade 1 Twin Spires Breeders' Cup Sprint for $1.5 million. Barry, a field of 14. You can make a case for over half of this field. You can attack this race from many different handicapping angles. What's your analysis on race 7?
Yeah, it's a really, really interesting race. You know, like you said, there's 14 betting interest, which is, you know, us as horse players love.
Right.
You know, big fields mean big money. And hopefully we can get a price. I'm going to start here with one of the lively favorites, Run Happy, who's an extremely talented horse. Just very, very fast. Really hasn't done anything wrong that I can see. And might have to be caught here. I know the horse has some problems breaking from the gate. But, you know, maybe a step or two slow might cost him. But, you know, that's something we'll have to see on race day. Next is Private Zone, who is actually running from the 13th post, which is really tough to do in a race like this. He's extremely fast, just like Run Happy. He's definitely going to be on the pace, in the lead. I think he's a little bit better at 7 furlongs and maybe even up to a mile than he is at 6 furlongs. So I'm gonna opt to pass here on him. I wouldn't be surprised if he sticks around. He's a fighter, so you know you can't totally discount him. But you know I'm gonna side elsewhere here. The horse I like actually is a little bit off the cuff here. Is Barbados. The horse had ran a pretty good prep for this race in the Phoenix last time. On the track against Run Happy, he got off a bit slow and came flying at the end. I think it was just an optimal prep. The horse hadn't been out in a while. I think he's sitting on a really big race here. He's going to sit a better trip than he did the last time. He's going to be more forwardly placed. He doesn't have to be all the way in the back. He's going to be stalking, and that's usually the profile of the horse that wins this race. It's not really a closer that usually gets it. It does happen, but typically a stalker type wins this kind of race, and that's who I'm going to go with an honorable mention to Salutos Amigos, who definitely will be a price, and I think has a little bit of kick here to in the end that might make a little bit of noise.
That's great analysis on Barbados. I couldn't have said it better myself. If you're looking for that type of angle from that type of horse, Run Happy obviously Barry has the advantage. He's the speed of the speed, in my opinion. And not only is he the speed of the speed, he's closest to the rail. So barring something significant from a break perspective, as you were mentioning, that horse is going to be able to be sent to the rail as soon as possible. And he'll have that pace advantage at least early. But I don't think it'll be too long before Private Zone's breathing down his neck. And quite honestly, Favorite Tail looks like he has some early speed as well. So I look for Run Happy to have company. Now, he just may be a freak. And I think I lean towards the fact that he is a freak, but in our job on the Tournament Edge is to try to find a horse at a price that'll be able to beat Run Happy. I don't think Run Happy will go off at 3-1, and I'm sure you probably agree with that, and understandably so. I looked at this. I looked at a lot of horses, and I'll tell you a horse just out of frustration that I keep going to the wheel well with, and he keeps letting me down at the gate, and that's Kobe's Back. I mean, this horse should be a multiple graded stakes winner at Santa Anita, and if he could get out of his own way at the gate, he would have won a couple in a row. And I keep thinking, you know, Peter Yurton's going to get this horse right, and Peter Yurton gets better and better each meet, correct? I mean, we can agree on that. His numbers continue to increase. He's got a Hall of Fame jockey on him. But he continues to break sideways from the gate, and it basically eliminates him from the gate. So I had to scratch Kobe's Back off the list. I looked at your horse. I looked at Stalk Walking Dude for a long time. I thought that last race at Belmont Park when he ranged up on the outside of Rockfall, I thought he was going to win the race. And unfortunately, Rockfall is no longer with us, but we know how good Rockfall was. And Rockfall was so game to pass Stalk Walking Dude. But you mentioned my selection. Who passed Stalk Walking Dude at the very last minute and almost got to Rockfall, and that is Salutos Amigos. I think from a gambling perspective, Barry, I'm going to bank on the fact they're going to go too fast early in this race. And obviously, I know I'm taking a closer in a 6-furlong sprint race. I'm going to need a lot of luck. And I've got the wrong Ortiz on him, in my opinion. But I'm going to take my chances with Saludos Amigos. He's 12-1 morning line. I can't read whether he's going to be an overlay or an underlay, but I still think he's going to be a nice price from not only a tournament perspective, but also a win wager perspective. And if they do go fast early and Run Happy is not the freak we think he is, or he's not on top of his game, if Saludos Amigos can go back to that last effort, I think he's a major player in the Breeders' Cup Sprint.
Yeah, I also agree. I mean, as you know, I did mention him. I just think, between himself and his stablemate, Stalwalk and Dude, Saludos Amigos is a little bit more battle-tested in this greatest stakes type competition. The two horses actually look identical. If you look at their past performances, they really, really very, very similar. It's just that Saludos Amigos has been running, in top-level competition, and Stalwalk and Dude is coming up out of the ranks. I actually saw Stalwalk and Dude run at Gulfstream in the Claiming Crown, and there was no way I would think that this horse would be in the Breeders' Cup Sprint this year. So, I have to tip my cap to Jacobson. Whatever he's doing, it worked, and this horse has turned into quite an animal over the past few months.
The thing that really was the deciding factor for me over Stalwalking Dude was I'm afraid that maybe he'll chase that fast pace and not necessarily lay off of it and make one run. Now, I'm not 100% sure on that, Barry. But again, I'm a big video guy, and I just looked at the races, and although I love the move that he made in the last, it just seems like he's going to be chasing it. And if you're chasing this pace and you're not the two freaks in Private Zone and Run Happy, I'm just afraid you're going to compromise yourself. And I'm hoping that Jose can just sit back, try to find a lane and make one run and maybe run down Run Happy. But I say that without a lot of confidence because I really believe that Run Happy is as advertised.
Okay, that's fair enough.
So we'll move on to race 8 on Saturday's card. It is the $2 million Breeders' Cup Turf Mile. How did you see this one playing out, Barry? Another loaded field as expected.
Yeah, very loaded field. Now, I'm going to preface this right off the top here. I don't like any of the North American horses. I can tell you that right here. Every horse that I'm going to talk about is running or has been running overseas. I think they just by far and away outclassed this field for the North American runners. Horses like, obviously, I don't think has any kind of shot here. And Shawish is another one that I think is a cut below. With that said, I'm going to start with Make Believe. Probably rates the best horse in this race. Group 1 winner. Out of the same race, the Prix de la Forêt, excuse my French.
You did it. Hey, you said it better than I would have, Barry. So kudos to you. You just run a 110 buyer.
All right. That's the same race, actually, that last year's winner, Karakanite, won, or actually was in last year. Didn't win it. Actually got thumped pretty bad by Olympic Glory last year. Came back over to Santa Anita and won this race pretty handily at 30-1. This horse won that race this year. And I think this horse rates the best, but the price isn't going to be there. I mean, I really can't knock this horse in any way. But I gotta have to use this horse, but I just, the value isn't there for me. So I'm gonna go with the 9 horse, who's his stablemate, coincidentally, is Esoterique. Fires every time, and they ran this horse. Andre Fabre ran this horse in England or Great Britain as opposed to a race in France, and it was for more money. Which I think is a little bit telling as to who they think might be the better horse. Because They split them apart. I don't think they wanted to run against each other.
Which makes sense.
Right, exactly. So I think this horse may be a little bit better, and that's going to be my pick. Maybe get a nice, break in the odds here, maybe about 4 or 5 to 1. I might going to take a big shot with this horse.
Okay. I agree with you wholeheartedly that the Euros might finish first, second, and third in this race. I would like to go back to the American contingent real quick and just say this. I think the best American horse in race 8 on Saturday is Grand Arch. This horse has vastly improved. The last race that he ran at Keeneland was very impressive over a yielding turf course. Held on to beat Pizza Man by a head late. The numbers from Timeform US come back very strong. So I completely understand, Barry, why they are taking a shot here. And just the question is his best better than anything that the Euros have to offer? And I side towards no. But I do believe that if an American horse wins this race, it's going to be from the one hole. A horse that I did find intriguing, and I'm surprised, and I don't know why, I just had a gut feeling that you may like this horse a little bit, is obviously, not because I'm going to pick obviously to win, but that's a lot of speed. A lot of speed going into a turf race in which obviously has been extremely successful going straight to the front and playing catch me if you can. So before I continue with my analysis, do you see the 8 horse getting to the lead and nothing else even able to catch it out of the gate? Because I see a lot of gate speed out of obviously.
Well, it's so strange with that horse because, you know, every time, if you look at his past performance, every time he just jumps out to the lead and nobody, it's like, how can this horse ever lose?
Right.
And yet the horse finds ways to lose every year. And, you know, looks better and better. I mean, it even looks like this horse has improved.
That's what I'm hearing. That in the mornings, the workouts have been superb.
And it's really strange. And I can't trust a horse like that. Not that I don't like him. I just can't trust him in a race like this when all the money's there. Not that he couldn't put it together. I mean, he's just as capable as anybody else, especially the horse on the rail that you mentioned, Grand Arch. He has he's earned it. I mean, that horse has really earned it to be in this spot this year and get a shot at this title. Right. But somebody like, obviously, I just can't trust because every time he's in this kind of situation, doesn't show up, and I just want to, side against is just a pace presence and nothing more.
I think your selection should be the favorite. I'm not sure in the end whether or not Esoterique will be the favorite, but I went to another Euro, and it's on the outside Time Test. I like what this horse has been able to do recently. You want to talk about class, just won a race at Royal Ascot this year. And a deciding factor for me, and I'm not as big of a jockey guy as others, meaning if I like the horse, 9 times out of 10, I'm going to bet the horse. And am I going to cringe if there's a jockey on there that I don't like? Yes. But am I still going to go to the window and make a win wager? I am. But when Ryan Moore gets on this horse wins. Ryan Moore gets on him 2 starts back at the Ascot, he wins. Off of him 2 or 3 starts back and he wins. 2 starts back on a yielding turf course, which I don't think the horse liked. Ryan Moore's not on him and he wins. Back on a good surface last time, which is basically a firm surface over there, and he wins. I think this horse is in great shape. This horse has class. This horse is going to be the best of the odds of the 3 and has every opportunity in the world to overcome the 12 post because there's going to be a very hot pace early because I think there's going to be a lot of horses chasing, obviously. I think Ryan Moore is one of the best jockeys in the world, and I trust Time Test to bring it home. And I do think the 6-1 morning line, I don't think that's going to be the end story. I think he'll be an overlay, and I'm going with Time Test on top.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely shown – he seems like the kind of horse that can jump up and break through here. The only thing I don't like about him is that he's a 3-year-old.
And that's fair, and I understood that, which is why he's probably 6-1.
Right, exactly. That's the only thing that scared me away. I think the 9 who I ended up picking has a little bit more experience. A 5-year-old mare, even more than that, it's a female running against the boys. Should give account of herself. But I definitely can see the 12 winning this race and winning it easily, actually. There's a lot of ways that this horse can win, and I wouldn't be surprised.
And I don't think Ryan Moore comes over here and gets on this horse if he doesn't think this horse can win. So we're going to move on to race 10 on the card. It's the $3 million Longines Breeders' Cup Turf. Some argue that this is the best horse on the grounds, Barry, and Golden Horn. Wow, was this horse nothing short of superb in his last race. Can anything beat Golden Horn?
That's a tough question. I mean, it's hard to really doubt a horse that's won the Epsom Derby and the Arc de Triomphe in the same year. I mean, those kind of credentials themselves should merit favoritism in this race.
Unbelievable.
My only concern with Golden Horn is, maybe there's a possibility that coming back on this shorter rest could affect his performance. This is the shortest time in between races he's ever had, and I don't want to feel like he's left his race back in France. I think it's very possible that is the case. I haven't heard anything contrary to him being just his normal self. He's definitely the one to beat here.
Barry, can I stop you and ask you a question about Golden Horn and something else that could be a play against, and I wanted your thoughts on it. I've heard all week from the different media outlets that you and I both listen to that this surface could come up pretty soft depending on how it dries out today, which would be Friday, and in the morning on Saturday. Some are worried that Golden Horn won't like it being so soft, that the more firm it is, the more it's going to suit him, which I was under the understanding that the horses coming from over in Europe like the soft footing better than the firm, but I'm hearing that if there's a knock against Golden Horn, it could be that it's going to come up too soft, and I wanted your thoughts on what others were saying.
I think it's much to do about nothing.
Right, I agree.
This horse is very good. I mean, 8 lifetime starts, 7 wins in a second. In different places. I mean,
all over
France and based in the UK, his numbers are off the charts. I mean, there's really no knocks against this horse, especially compared to the competition in this race. He should have it his own way. But there are some battle-tested horses here that I think rate a shot. One actually, which will actually end up being my pick here. And you're probably going to look at me funny when I say this, but Twilight Eclipse is the horse that I really rate a good chance in here. His last race, he got into a spot of trouble in the stretch. Didn't get the most ideal trips. The ride wasn't that great. He got caught inside, got shuffled back, and then, kind of lost all cause in the stretch, and that's something you just can't do. And I've seen horses in a race, a Grade 1 or even a Breeders' Cup race that had a similar trip that come back as a favorite. This horse is probably going to be 20 to 30 to 1. I think he rates a good shot here with a better trip. The other horse that is right outside to him that rates a really long, good shot here is Big Blue Kitten. I think that horse is just as honest as they come. Should be closing and give a good account of himself. Every time on the racetrack, does the same thing. Chad Brown is the best with preparing horses on the grass, so I don't expect anything but his best.
Well, I just go look. Let's not sugarcoat it. Golden Horn's going to be very, very difficult to beat. I mean, this horse. If this horse comes over here and he ships well, and there's no bleeding, there's no issues, this horse is probably going to win the race. A horse that I wanted to point out, another frustrating horse, very similar to me as Kobe's back, not from a gate issue, but as Shining Copper, the 2-horse. Now, I've went to the well with this horse on 2 different occasions. I bet him in the Arlington Million. I felt really good about it. When they got to the 16th pole, I felt really good about it. And he was beat a length and run some ridiculous numbers. I went back to him in his last. I think he went off at 8 to 1. And Manny Franco just ran this horse in the ground. And I'm starting to think that it's completely by design. Chad Brown has this horse in this race as nothing more than a rabbit for Big Blue Kitten. And it's unfortunate to me, Barry, because I really feel like if Chad Brown would try to win with this horse, that he could actually win with this horse. I mean, this horse has world-class speed on the turf. The numbers do not lie. And they just run this horse in the ground to set it up for Slumber and Big Blue Kitten. And the only reservation that I have, and I'm going to include him in my pick 4 because I can't let him beat me, is Luis Saez gets on this horse. And Luis Saez on the turf, as we talked about on yesterday's show, is as good as it comes, especially in New York. And I'm just thinking to myself at this point, maybe, just maybe, Chad Brown is actually going to let this horse run his race. But it's too much of an if, and I can't depend on that.
Well, you got to look back to what, the late Bobby Franco did with Intercontinental in a similar situation.
Okay. And
it looked like the same sort of deal where this horse was just in there to set the pace.
Right.
And winning.
Right.
So I don't, I can't totally discount it. I mean, you're definitely onto something there.
Right.
This horse could, kind of put people to sleep.
Right.
And just run off. I mean, it's certainly possible.
And you can't deny, Barry, that this is the best jockey he's had on him since he's been with Chad Brown. And it's not even a discussion.
Absolutely.
It's not even a discussion. I can't believe you didn't mention the Pizza Man. I mean, this is the biggest blue-collar horse in the world. I continue to say, Barry, he can't get it done. And he continues to say, Bobby, I'm going to get it done. I mean, he is an amazing horse. It's an amazing story. He's literally the California Chrome of 2015, and nobody talks about him at all.
Yeah, I mean, it's just so difficult in this race. I mean, he, like you said, he's blue collar. He runs his race every time. He's performed on the highest level. I just don't like him here.
I don't either. But that's what he wants, right?
No excuse of why. I really don't like him here.
Right.
I just don't know why. And those are the kind of horses that burn you.
Yeah.
So hopefully he won't. And the pizza won't be burnt. And we'll be okay. But you never know.
As of right now, he's not in my pick 4, and that probably means he'll win. But I'm actually siding with you. I cannot believe that we picked the same horse in Twilight Eclipse. And I was thinking to myself before I made this selection, I said, Barry's going to hammer me. And you set the tone, and you picked this horse to win. And I'm with you on the last race. And you were nicer than I'm going to be. Joel Rosario rode this horse awful. He had every chance to get out from the rail, get out of traffic, move wide. And when I say wide, guys, I'm not talking about 5 or 6 wide. I'm just talking about move to the 3 or 4 path down the stretch, and he wins this race. But I think it's a good thing he didn't win the race, Barry, because we're going to benefit from this because this horse is 20-1 morning line. He's probably going to be an overlay. And if somehow, some way, Golden Horn just decides he doesn't want to run, to me, this is the second best horse in the race. You can't deny the numbers. You can't deny the class. You can't deny the connections. And hopefully Joel Rosario rides the horse the way he's supposed to ride him.
Yeah, I am in total agreement with you there. The horse had every right to win that last race. Probably should have. And I think that was a blessing in disguise that he did. One
more thought before we move on. Your thoughts on Red Rifle. I'm also surprised you didn't mention this horse. I don't like this horse at all. I think he's going to take a lot of money on Saturday from an American, because he's an American with the most information, and he seems successful as of late. I don't like him at all. In fact, I would include Pizza Man in my pick 4 before I would include Red Rifle.
Yeah, not good enough here. The horse, actually, the other foreign horse found much better.
Right. Okay. Well, without further ado, it's the Super Bowl. It's race 11. It's the Breeders' Cup Classic, a 1.25 mile grade 1 for $5 million. Some really unfortunate news came down. Beholder not in the race. Not that I necessarily gave her a shot to win, but she's good for the sport. She was good for this race. And Barry, it makes things even easier on American Pharoah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see any scenario where American Pharoah does not get to the lead here, and it's just up to him to win or lose. However, one thing I will say is this trip at 1.25 miles off of this break that he's had is definitely going to be probably the toughest test that he's had. Facing older horses, this layoff, and then the distance, all those 3 factors combined make this a difficult race. Now, with that being said, you saw what he did in the Belmont, where he was allowed to basically trot around the whole track with no pressure whatsoever. That scenario could show up on Saturday. Hopefully not, because I do like other horses in this race, one of which is Frosted, who I think is the second best 3-year-old in the country. And I think, that change of tactics that he had in the Travers was just a mishap by the jockey. I don't think they ever wanted him to go to the lead like that, at least in that race. And I think that he rates a good shot if Farrow was to falter. And then the other horse I'll mention is Artico, who's getting a lot of internet buzz.
Obviously. He gets internet buzz all the time.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that the horse is, just an exciting horse to watch. I mean, I love watching him. I just think he's up against it with this pace scenario, unless he pulls something out of his hat that I haven't seen yet. Because to me, he looks like a dead closer. At 7 furlongs, mile and a quarter, he looks like a dead closer. I don't know if it's going to favor him so much. He has run faster races than American Pharoah. That has to be mentioned. But, it's really difficult to get a read on where this horse will actually sit. Because if he's way back in last, I'm not rating him a shot at all.
And that's where he's going to be, Barry. He's going to be dead last, and he's going to be chasing a pace that's going to be non-existent. And as good as Honor Code is, and as brilliant as he looks at times, and as good as he looked in the Metropolitan, and as good as he looked in the Whitney, what did the Metropolitan have? An extremely fast pace. What did the Whitney have? Liam's Map ran as fast as you could possibly run, and he was barely able to catch him. And if Liam's Map doesn't jump a shadow or a track in the dirt, or didn't like the whip, then he doesn't win. He doesn't even win that race. I like Honor Code. I think he's exciting, but he's not winning this race. You're exactly right. I mean, American Pharoah is going to go to the lead. He's going to play Catch Me If You Can. And every time he's done that in his career, it's worked out to perfection. And I don't see that being a difference here. I didn't think he was going to lose the race with Beholder in the race. I certainly don't think he's going to lose the race now. The one horse, Barry, that I think holds the cards of changing the complexity of this race is Glen Eagles. And here's why. We don't know what the horse is going to do. The horse has never been on dirt. I mean, I don't know anything about this horse. So let me propose a question to you. They're changing surfaces. They're in a race that a lot of people think they're in over their head. What if the connections just say, we're going to the lead? We're going straight to the lead. We're gonna give American Pharoah everything we have. At that point, it puts American Pharoah up against it, because we saw what happened last time against Frosted.
Yeah, I mean, tactically, that might be the best move.
I just don't know what they're going to do.
Yeah, I mean, the horse obviously has talent, clearly. I mean, it's not even an issue. And it's also, no question that last race he had was a prep on the 17th of October. They weren't trying to win that race.
No.
Especially with the intentions of coming here. So I'd say, that might, that kind of tactic might be something that gets them a victory. If going head and head with American Pharoah, I mean, what's the worst you could say? Oh, well, we went head and head with a Triple Crown winner and lost. That's what's actually supposed to happen.
It's very interesting, Barry.
Him going to the lead and challenging him with the the notion that, hey, we might be able to beat this guy if we head up in front of him. It's definitely possible. Yeah. I mean, it's not far-fetched.
I don't know, so I don't want the viewers to think that I know something. I'm just raising a possibility. On paper, from what Barry and I see, American Pharoah is going to get to the lead, and he's going to take him as far as he can, which I think is going to be all the way to the finish line and through it. But what we don't know is Glen Eagles. We just don't know what Glen Eagles is going to do. When you're switching surfaces and you're up against it, according to the form, the horse could go to the front, because we've seen this before with other horses that are stepping up in class or changing distances. The connections say, look, let's just go to the front and see how far we can go. And at that point, maybe American Pharoah is compromised. Barry, I'm going to be honest. I'm just not going to throw a horse name. I just think American Pharoah wins. He's just going to win the race. He's the best. I think he's the best dirt horse that's in this race. He's arguably the best dirt horse in the country. He's done something that I never saw in my lifetime. I appreciate him for that. I respect him for that. And I just think he's not only the best horse from a numbers perspective, he's also the best horse on the front end. And when you put those two things together, you're looking at, to me, almost an impossible task. And I respect everything that you say in your opinion, but Frosted has had every chance to beat American Pharoah, and he has failed both times. And I just don't give him a shot. Tonalist, I think, is overrated. He can't win away from Belmont Park. We've talked about Honor Code. I want to like FNX, Barry. I want to. But the numbers just aren't there. So, Smooth Roller, no thank you. We know nothing about Glen Eagles. Keen Ice, that's the horse I wanted to spend a little time with you on. Wins a race at Saratoga, shocks us all. He did benefit from Frosted, letting American Pharoah have it early. But you can't deny, if you look at the video, and I hope you do, he made a very strong middle move to put himself in position to win the race. He seems to be on the improve, even though I don't think he's going to win. To me, he seems like the horse that is on the improve, and you could make a case to beat American Pharoah if Glen Eagles goes after AP.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, he's definitely jumped up the last couple of races after, after the Triple Crown races that he ran in. So I wouldn't be surprised if he gives a great account of himself. Dale Romans does a great job with horses like this, that needed a little bit of time, I think. The horse always showed he had potential and was coming late and a little too late.
Right.
Now the horse may have figured it out a little bit, and you're going to see a more tenacious animal coming down the stretch. And hopefully, at least for Keen Ice's sake, hopefully in the hunt. So, maybe you have a chance to beat AP, but I'm with you still again. Pharoah has everything going his way. This race was tailor-made, especially with scratches, everything the way it is, tailor-made for him to win.
I agree. So we'll do it again. 4 races. Who's your best bet?
My best bet, I'm going to have to say, is Twilight Eclipse, just from a value standpoint and the opportunity to beat a big favorite in Golden Horn. I think he rates a lot better shot than it may look on paper. I'm
going to say Saludos Amigos if Jose Ortiz can put the horse in position, turning for home to win the race. I know it's a bit of a stretch because he is a dead closer and he is going to be trying to maneuver his way through some of the speed that may be quitting. But if he can get a good trip, Barry, I think Saludos Amigos could upset Run Happy. So that does it for the second edition of the Breeders' Cup races this week. For Barry Spears, I'm Bobby Shoemaker. And until next Thursday, good luck.